Okay.
Hello.
Noelle. Hi. You have been connecting to your vagina a couple, like more every night.
The last few nights,
Okay.
yes.
And you had
Yes.
something really cool happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell.
So, number one thing that happened was let me just, so she came, and so I'll feel energy. It's not the energy of horny as we've talked about, but I just feel energy and I'm like, oh, hi, kind of response to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this moment of feeling in a very heartfelt way, saying to her, hey, I really miss you. I miss being connected with my own sexuality. And I
Oh.
immediately get this message of, well, you know what you need to do, right?
And you
And in
knew.
that moment, I actually did. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know a moment before. So, yes, I have somebody from my past who the fantasy of which I've hung on to for years. And when I've been pretty unhappy in my marriage, I fantasize even more.
Yeah, which is very natural.
Totally get that. I mean, yeah, and it can create a bit of a barrier. And I've
Mhm.
always been somebody in my marriage, for whatever reason, that I have felt one foot in, one foot out, although I've never threatened to leave but I've always just sort of been that way. And Grant has accepted that about me and said, look, if you're always that way, but you don't leave, that's just your thing. And I'm okay with that.
Okay, that is such another topic of conversation for later.
Mm.
Okay. Holy
But
whoa, always being 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Well, here's the thing though. I kind of
Okay.
am and I kind of am not. Maybe this is just my way of feeling like I have choice and freedom because in many situations in my life, I have forgotten that I had any choice at all. So that's
Mhm.
part of it. But
Okay.
also, there are ways that it's hard for Grant and I to connect emotionally, sexually. There's been issues. So I can understand why I have, and it's not a fail safe. It's not somebody who's like, hey, Noelle, anytime, you and me, like it's not like that.
Mhm.
But of all the men I've known, there's I don't want to say the one that got away, but the one that resides in my heart. And I think about him at times. I'm trying not to.
And your vagina was saying, you know what you need to do. And you immediately got a
In
message
what I
that
knew,
that
yes,
fantasizing is not helping you.
the fantasy is a barrier because I have my lack of willingness to be completely vulnerable is the barrier. I mean, if,
Yes. My
right?
lack of, I'm just going to repeat that. My lack
Lack,
of willingness to be vulnerable is the barrier, which I do not feel like you are alone in that. I think there are
mm.
so many of us that being weak or vulnerable or completely open with our significant other is very challenging.
Yeah, it can be terrifying. I mean, if I really love Grant with everything I have and he dies before me, which sounds, and I'm not even saying that as a medium, just as a person, I know I'd
Mhm.
be able to maintain contact with him and all of that. But the fear of that, and I know that I have had in previous lives, or I have a grandmother who I didn't even meet, but I know some of this I inherited, some of this gripping fear of being devastated by the loss of somebody. So I've always hung on to that. And I didn't realize how much that was really impairing our relationship until my vagina said that. And when she said that, I was like, holy crap. And I want to be fully married, connected, committed, intimate, even though I may have some of that fear around. I
Mhm.
feel like I've grown stronger in a lot of ways. And the truth is, for all of us, if we don't fully love and fully give or embrace, we're going to regret that on the back end anyway. So we're not actually protecting ourselves. We are being the barrier to having the closeness that we may really want with whomever that is. It's freaking
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. So then what's the process? So how did you go from getting the message from your vagina to then a process to activate what she was asking you to do?
Well, the clarity really helped. And then as I sat there, it felt like such an easy choice, which is also progress. And I'm really trying to acknowledge my own progress. And then I was calling in energies, which I do here and there. So I was calling back my own energy of sexuality, calling back whatever else came to mind in that moment. I mean, I'm half asleep when this ever happens.
Mhm.
So I put stuff on the notes app, and then that is the only stuff I can often recall later. But it was really great. And then she's had, I feel like she shows up and brings me energy so that I can connect with my body so that when I do have sex with my husband, I can really enjoy that. And she's helping me learn how to enjoy and feel more instead of just being overly sensitive. I feel like she's really been helping me. But check this out.
Mm.
So I think it was the night before last, and I get a sense that she wants me to touch her. So I pull out my toy, which she was okay with, and I always check. And this has never happened to me. So when I was an escort many years ago, I had lots of different kinds of experiences with lots of different men. There was one guy in particular that I always remember. I met him at some hotel somewhere, and that was maybe at that point the best sex of my life. I mean, he maybe he was married and he was used to being like a really great, generous, connected lover. But I remember leaving the hotel room like, damn, like, can I come back tomorrow? Is how I felt.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I had other good experiences where they were so into going down on me and I enjoyed it. But this guy has stood out in my mind. Not that I've thought about him in many years. I try not, for a long time, I've tried not to think about any of this, but it was so
Mhm.
interesting. So I'm trying to not fantasize when I am connecting with myself intimately in that way, because that has felt like the right thing to do. And fantasies get distracting. And I think I'm supposed to be connecting with myself, not focusing on somebody else. But this image of this guy came back to me and the feeling that I had in being with him, and it was very arousing. And it was so interesting to me to have that. And instead of my mind going somewhere with it, making it mean something weird,
Mhm.
and I'm assuming this part was my vagina too, it occurred to me like, hey, that was my sexuality. Like, that was mine. That was my sexual energy. That was a sexual experience. I could label it good or bad. Like, oh, but under those circumstances, that's terrible that I would even. But you know what? It
Mm-mm.
didn't feel like that at all. It felt kind of clean in a way because it was a good experience. And it just something like I want to celebrate being able to integrate that part of myself is how I'm sitting with it in this moment,
Yeah.
right? So it's not, well, that was that chapter of my life and I try not to think about it. It's like, well, that was me too. That was my vagina. She was loving that guy.
Right. Okay. So I cannot even explain to you. I don't know how long we've been doing these recordings. 2 months. The person that you are today versus we should go back and just listen to that first recording that we did. The
Hmm.
amount of acceptance that you have created in your own life since then, and the freedom that you're giving yourself, and the processing of this was a part of me that I don't have to lock away. This is a part of me that there were good moments. I did learn good things. I I it's so huge, Noelle, because I mean, just the fact that you were like, so when I was an escort, you didn't even like pause. And I mean, 2 months ago or a month ago, you would
Yeah.
have been all, okay, how do I talk about this without using the word that is the truth? But I don't want, and for you to have a sexually intimate experience touching yourself and going back to a time in your life that you used to be really ashamed of and pulling forward positive energy for that. What a huge attribute, not the right word. You know what's the word? Ay, ay, ay. What a huge gift that you're giving yourself. But anyone who is listening that thinks that they can never get over a traumatic experience that happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
30 years ago. Yeah.
I mean, just mic drop that for a second.
Hmm.
So
Well,
cool.
and thank you, friend, for noticing something, for making that kind of observation. And I noticed it too, which was, and I am really working on a lot of things about myself where I've been stuck and really looking to release. I'm getting a lot of support from my spiritual connections. All kinds of people are coming through to give me advice. It's been really wonderful. And it just felt like such a different place to come from. I agree completely. And if anybody is like, wait, an escort? Please listen to a previous episode. It wasn't something that I necessarily chose to do. Somebody influenced me to do that. And I believed that I was doing what was right at the time.
Mhm.
So, and now I'm very out about it all over the place. Just to encourage, I really want to be, even if I'm the cautionary tale of, well, at least I'm not her, and somebody feels better about themselves because of that, that's okay too. Don't make
Eh,
fun of me for it if you're going to use me as an example to help yourself feel good because,
yeah,
well,
don't do
do
that.
whatever you want.
That's
But
just mean.
anyway,
Meh,
whatever.
that's just mean. We
Yeah,
don't want mean. Okay,
right. Yeah.
so this there's so many things that my mind is kind of going crazy. So what else did your Okay, I do want to talk about fantasy
Yeah.
because I use fantasy, but it's not necessarily erotic. It's weird. So fantasy for me might help me have an orgasm quicker by thinking about being outside and perhaps someone catching us.
Hmm.
Or um, I don't know, in a car or just reaching under the table and in a restaurant, in a public restaurant. Okay, it sounds like I'm a voyeur, but I'm not. Uh, voyeur. Anyways, I'm really having trouble. This is total perimenopause,
Mm.
peri getting me today. I'm like, what words? What? Those words don't make any sense. Anyways, I think there's a time and a place for it. And so what I feel and certainly some men pop in, some women pop in. I'm not gonna deny. I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, welcome to the party in my head. I mean, we're not
Yeah.
bringing anyone into our bed, and that's fine too if that's what you decide to do. But for us, that's not something that we've ever contemplated. However, fantasy in the right places can really do a lot. Now, for me, like dirty talk, I'm not I'm not going there. I don't really like it if he were to say I don't know. Or when he asks, oh God, okay, we can't talk about this. Sorry, I'm not supposed to talk personal about my husband. Uh per him. And I completely respect that.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead, tell me what are your thoughts or what does your vagina think about that take on fantasy? Because your vagina was saying, we really need you to stop fantasizing about that person, about being with that person. In
Right.
general, though, what's your vagina's take on fantasy?
Right now, she's saying it's my turn to speak. Okay. And she's saying fantasies are very good when it's leading to a point, when it's a leading point to your current partner
Oh.
or even to yourself. Like you fantasizing. So, what do you think about Jen fantasizing about women? Just to, anyway.
Mhm. I'm
And
curious.
I'm seeing totally acceptable. No withdrawal of comment, however. Am I getting that right? And she's showing me a visual of, so I was trying to fantasize about having sex, like hot sex with Grant, where there's no pain, where we're feeling super connected and lots of eye contact. We haven't necessarily had it that way kind of thing, or
Mhm.
occasionally, but it's been a long time. So that's what if I was going to fantasize, that's what I wanted to fantasize about. And I feel like she's now saying that's my exercise.
Yours as in Noelle's or hers?
No else.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I need to do that to bridge a gap because I created a barrier where sex was kind of off the table, more or less. You and I are in very different
Hmm.
places
Hmm.
in this area. So
Yeah.
my stuff might sound like, really? A little wackadoodle is what she's saying, her words. But this is where I'm at. I'm very segmented, is the word she's bringing up. So what I need may be different than some
Yes.
other folks, is all. So for me to fantasize and then because I really want to look forward to and savor the idea of having sex with my husband. So I want to fantasize about it being him. I choose that too. It's not just I think it's good for me kind of thing. And I have fantasized about well, not women. There's one woman in particular, somebody that I just think was amazing and beautiful and somebody I used to know years ago. And so there, but, and the medium intuitive part of me tries to not do that, or I ask for permission to do that because I
Mm.
feel like,
Oh,
just like I did with
jeez.
this guy from my past, I know I'm going to complicate everything, that when I do that, if I'm looking to make a real connection with the concept of that person or the energy of that person, I may be creating an energetic cord to that person.
Oh,
And
goodness gracious.
I'm sorry, I'm ruining everything. But I
Oh,
believe that that's
no.
true. So now I ask, like in my mind, hey, is it okay if I want to, if I really do want to fantasize about this woman, let's say,
Right.
I will ask, and I'll only be willing to do it if I feel like I'm not creating a cord. There's no actual sort of longing there, like there was from with my guy from my past, where there was a
Okay.
longing too. And I've had dreams with that person's wife come in, like,
Hmm.
I was doing something and I didn't realize it until maybe a year ago that I was likely courting him. And so I make a conscious choice to not do that now.
So I was going to ask you if you had done some cord cutting.
Yeah. Even as he comes to mind, I imagine the scissors now,
Okay.
today.
And Kristen, our good friend, would also say sending positive energy and purple light back to him when you cut, and positive purple
Hmm.
energy coming back to you. So if you're not familiar with cording and cord cutting, we could probably have a conversation about it at some point and why it's so important for all of us to do it. I don't cord cut very often.
Mm.
Uh, but when I do, it's hugely powerful. Like I had a past life experience where, ooh, that's a whole nother conversation where I had to totally cut a cord. I mean, it was like this huge rope. I mean, like
Wow.
huge. And yeah, that was a good one to cut.
Yeah, I mean, people court us, we court other people, and
Hmm.
it's really just an energy tether. But it's, and people have different ideas about it. Some people are okay with tethering their immediate family and nobody else. Some people
Hmm.
don't want to tether or be tethered to anybody. And I am of that mindset right now. Even after I finish readings, I try to imagine myself pulling all the cords out of myself and then sending love into them to reach the other person. I'm
Hmm.
just trying to have good like energy hygiene
Yeah,
basically with
that's a
myself and
really
others.
good.
So, yeah.
That's a really good thing. Energy hygiene. Well, go ahead.
But there's something about that reclaiming of our own sexual, like that was my sexual experience, my sexual energy. And even when you have bad experiences, but you still can walk away with something from that. We don't have, I mean, I don't want to speak to anybody else's trauma or experiences. It just felt empowering to me, like that was me too. And for me to not cut her out, which I've done, felt
Cut
loving
her
towards
as
myself.
in your past
Younger
person.
me, yeah.
Yeah.
The me that had that experience.
Hmm.
She
Yeah,
counts too.
you kept her in a very tight closet for quite some time.
Oh, yeah.
And now
Yeah.
she's out helping you.
Yeah.
She's like, "Hey peeps, I got a couple other heads to send your way. You just wait." Uh-huh.
Let me fill you in on this.
It's
So,
like
yeah.
your younger self's like, "Oh, I'll give you some more images. Let's just go to work. Let's go to work on our vagina, not go to work." That came out wrong. Sorry.
Oh, no. But focusing on this, bringing attention
Hmm.
in loving ways to the things. And I also got, when you shared about the reading you did on my vagina,
Hmm.
what was brought up is my negativity about myself and my experiences is a huge hindrance to being able to work through things. And I am very much keeping that in mind as well. So
I
it's all
should
very
try to reach out to
complicated,
her
but
again with your permission. I should because there has
please.
been such a difference in
Hmm.
a month. A
Yeah.
month. Noelle, maybe two.
I've been putting a lot of, as you know, a lot of
Hmm.
attention on this in a good
Hmm.
way. And I signed up, I don't think I shared on here yet. I signed up for therapy specifically to deal with this. I mean, I've done a lot of energetic stuff. Clearly, I need to do a whole lot more, and I'm still doing that. But I realized, you know what? I gotta stop pretending I'm not as impacted as I am. And so I start therapy, I think August 1st with a woman, and this is one of her specialties, and this is what I'm really going to just walk through with her. the words plow through is coming in to mind, but I'm going to try to keep it more gentle for myself than I usually do. Yeah.
Well, and what I'm just kind of getting with that, Noelle, is file through because it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Mm.
It just
Yeah.
this isn't going to be as complicated as you maybe would have thought it would have been 3 months ago. You're gonna say, okay, so why are you here? You're like, well, first of all, I connect with my vagina now, and she's gonna be all, okay, I don't think you need therapy, but I will sit here and listen to your story. But
Mm.
I think that I just see that her just saying to you, well, yeah, let's just get through some of the major issues and then we'll dive in a little bit. But it's kind of my whole concept of healing schmealing. Like when you decide that you're ready to be done with something, you can heal really quickly.
Yeah.
And
Because
it
you're
doesn't,
then,
yeah.
sorry, because you're then willing to let go of shit.
Yeah.
And in a way, it can move. I agree completely.
Hmm.
And there's these stages of change where you're like like you're not even thinking about it, then you're kind of thinking about it, then you're actually thinking I should do this, and then you take action. And the willingness to take the action, even making that appointment, to me was a bit of a turnaround moment. So, and that was a few weeks ago. Something came up in an argument with Grant, and it just really struck me about like, wow, I gotta cut this out. I have to stop pretending. We've been in therapy for 3 years, and but I still feel very saddled by all of that. But I am in such a different place because I've talked about it so much recently and let go of a lot of crap, and that my vagina is even coming in to talk to me. And even when I was talking to Grant, I could feel the energy, again, not the energy of horny. I'm hoping that'll come back someday, but just that I could feel her, just like I could feel my right hand if I wanted to. And I was loving that. And I'm in my head, I'm just like, oh, hi. Whenever
Hmm.
she shows up, oh, hi, how are you? Because I want her to feel
We're old
welcomed and I
friends.
want to be
Right.
connected.
Right.
So it's a
Love
fun
it.
ride now.
I love it. I can't wait to hear more. All
Yeah.
right. All right. If you want to talk to your vagina, let us know what it says, or we can help you too. But yeah, that came out wrong. Any,
My vagina says goodbye for now. And yes,
yes.
please consider that you're able to connect with the energy of your vagina, even if there are no words, but you get kind of a feeling. Go with it. Trust that you're tuning in with the best of intentions and that you can receive something back from that. And if we can help you, we're both intuitive mediums, we can do that. But if you have any intuition that you're tuned into, or any facility with mediumship for yourself, vaginas are just as game as trees and pussycats and relatives who've crossed over. So try it.
Every
Try it.
time you say pussycat, I just laugh. Hmm.
My grandfather used to call my grandmother pussycat. And so when I say it, I think of him, and it just sounds so endearing, but I know. Otherwise, I say the P word. I don't
It's
even
not,
say it. I just say the
it's,
P word.
I know, I don't even like that word. That's why I'm just like, every time you
Oh,
say it in like such this cute little way, I'm always all, okay, weird, Noelle, you're weird. Okay.
help yourself. Anyway,
All right.
thank you for
Vagina
listening.
whispering. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Vaginawhispering at gmail.com. Vagina Whispering on Instagram. We have a
Mhm.
pathetic page right now,
Yeah.
but our
Maybe
priority is
someday.
making these recordings. So yeah, we'll get around to
A-
it, but
And YouTube is definitely where to go.
definitely.
All right. You're probably here already. So hi, thanks for joining us. No, I'm saying if they're already listening, they're already on YouTube, probably.
Oh, hello.
So I
Yes.
was I was waving for all the people that are just listening to the audio, like we're
Mm,
waving at you now. Yeah, that
yeah.
was hilarious. Okay.
And smiling at the
Bye.
camera and waving
Yeah.
hello.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye.